Now, have you ever wondered how we know what something means without being told directly? Why does a shadow make us feel uneasy? Why a smile makes us feel welcome? Or why a certain sound makes us brace for danger? These are all actually examples of cues, which are basically signals that can guide our perception and behavior through pattern recognition. First thing we need to know is that cues are not exactly instructions. They don't spell things out like words. Instead, they actually rely on our ability to recognize patterns and symbols, connecting sensory input with meaning. They are the bridge between what we perceive and how we respond. One place that uses cues very well is from movies. They are filled with cues that can shape audiences' experience without them noticing. For example, in the movie's Jaws, the famous two-note motif is a cue for danger. Even before the shark appears, the audience can actually already feel tension rising just because the sound pattern signals threat. What makes this cue incredibly powerful is that every time we hear those notes, we are conditioned to anticipate danger. Spielberg actually uses this repetition to train the audience's perception so that the shark becomes more terrifying even when it's not on screen. Another example of movies that uses cues in a different form is in the Star Wars prequel trilogy. As the story progresses, Anakin Skywalker's clothing color gradually becomes darker, visually signaling his shift towards the dark side. This change does not need to be explicitly explained because audiences naturally associate darker tones with corruption, conflict, and moral decline. By slowly shifting his costumes from light in The Phantom Menace, neutral colors in The Attack of the Clones, to a darker outfits in The Revenge of the Sith, the film reinforces his internal transformation through visual storytelling. This subtle progression guides the audience's perception of his character long before his final turn into Darth Vader, using colors as a consistent cue to reflect his descent. Besides movies, we can also take a look at Heidegger's phenomenology that shows how cues are embedded in the very way we encounter the world. For him, objects are not neutral as they disclose their purpose through their form and context. A hammer, for example, cues hammering simply by the way it is shaped and situated in a workshop. We don't need instructions as the cues is built into the object's presence. Heidegger calls this readiness to hand, meaning that the tools and the environments signal their use through lived experience. This idea highlights how humans tend to rely on cues to navigate landscapes, interpreting signs and symbols instinctively rather than through explicit explanation. So, why does it matter to us? This is because we need to understand that we as audiences don't just respond to commands, we respond to cues. A well-placed symbol, a sound, or a visual pattern can guide them more effectively than any explicit instruction. Understanding cues means understanding how humans naturally interpret signals, and how those signals can be used to shape experience. So, whether in movies like Jaws, in philosophy, or in everyday life, cues are the subtle signals that connect perception with meaning. They are the invisible language of design. And for any designers developing a sensitivity to cues is essential because it means learning to design not just environments but experiences that humans can navigate instinctively.